Yeah. You better run before the police is gone.
Jimmy, it's Jimmy. Jimmy, coño.
Tommy. Talk to me, Tommy.
I'm mad. I want revenge. Patience. A good guy.
Tommy, hit me. 2 times. On the good foot. Yeah, I'ma walk, Tommy. Afro.
Yes, Jimmy.
Afro. I want revenge. I want revenge. Afros. Back up.
Jupiters! You back up!
Back up. You back up.
You back up.
You back up. You back up.
Somebody! You back up!
You killed it, my brother. My main man. I loved it, this dude, baby. He was,
Cut.
Why is he stopping?
Bobby, that was terrific. Why'd you stop? What happened?
There's no problem. I just forgot my line.
Okay, that's fine. No problem. You want to look at the script?
No, I'm okay.
Great. Okay. Let's go again.
Excuse me, Sidney, before you do, I have another very good idea.
Yeah.
Could you tell him to be a little more, you know?
Yeah, Bobby. Bobby, I need a little more black. You know what I'm saying? Like, stick your ass out, bug the eyes. You know how they move, you know?
Yeah, jive ass.
Let's slate it. Let's go again.
Okay, sorry, Sidney.
Scene 10, Baker 1.
And action.
I loved it, my brother. He was my main man, baby. Yeah, baby, because I loved it.
Hollywood Shuffle. How old is that movie? It's like 40 years old now, isn't it? Hollywood Shuffle. At least 35 years. I'm saying it's approaching 40 years old. Hollywood Shuffle, Robert Townsend. Can you imagine that movie being released today? I can. I think everyone should watch it. It's exactly what's being expected of black folks today. Yeah, it sounds as ridiculous as that movie was. It was on point. It's absolutely on point. Back then, Robert Townsend was mocking Hollywood for its stereotyping of black people, as far as obviously what was expected of them. That whole. Have you seen The French Connection? That the only real interaction with black people in The French Connection, which I thought, I don't know how that movie had won any awards. It was just absolutely awful. Not so much what I'm talking about now, but it was the ending was so incredibly frustrating. Gene Hackman, there's no possible way that you can be happy with with what that movie did. That was it was horrendous. But the French Connection, obviously a very popular movie, specifically back in the day, was good for revealing exactly what you saw there in that scene of Hollywood Shuffle. That jive ass. if you will. That's what Robert Townsend had called it. That's what they wanted. That's what they wanted. They fit right into that with the drugs and the alcohol and the urban double talk. They kind of it was they called it just that, jive. They called it jive. But right now, that is gone. That mentality is gone from Hollywood, which began all of that. It's began to introduce all of that to the world, specifically this country. It's gone from Hollywood to the streets, into politics, into media. It is exactly what is expected out of black people today. Let's take a look at this idiot. And well, not pick your. I said that. That's not exactly the idiots that I was thinking of, but right, pick your poison on this one. Let's take a look at this idiot, and just proving my point. What is being expected out of black people right now?
Wonderful. Now, Tim Scott, he does not seem to understand, and a lot of them don't seem to understand, the difference between a racist country and a systemic racism. They don't seem to get the difference. Yes, maybe it's not a racist country. Maybe Americans, the majority, are not racist. But we live in a country with systemic racism. We discussed it this week again already, about housing and about education and all of the things that are important to people. And the fact that Tim Scott cannot acknowledge this is appalling. How can you go out there and say that when you just said 2 minutes ago that you were the object and the victim of discrimination?
Okay, that's enough out of that chump. Look, what she is just, again, proving the point exactly what white people are expecting. White liberals, I shouldn't say white people, white liberals are expecting out of black people. We're supposed to be angry. We're supposed to act a certain way. We're supposed to talk a certain way. We're supposed to vote a certain way. It is just exactly what they want out of us, what they actually need out of us. If they by convincing us that we are some sort of degraded, some sort of subhuman that only thinks properly when they're doing exactly what white liberals need them to do, is maddening. There's nothing worse, and I'm speaking to you, white liberal, white socialist, white Democrat. There's nothing worse than having you explain to us, people of color, black, Hispanic, nothing worse than having you explain to us how tough it is to be a person of color in the United States. One, not all of us think that way. Not all of us think that way. Not all of us take racism as personal. I'm not going to ruin my day because someone hates me for my skin color. I'm not going to stop living my life because someone had treated me unfairly once. If for some reason my skin color doesn't let me in the front door, I'll be glad to sneak around the back. I've grown up in a situation where most of us are here now, have grown up in a situation where there has been no real deterrent. may have faced some challenges, but you can get around those challenges. And then you will be exactly where you needed to be. Again, it's brought up again that math is racist. They try not to say that particular phrase, mathematics are racist. I noticed that they try not to say that too much, because that doesn't quite fit into what they want to get at. But they insinuate that math is indeed racist, that somehow it is unfair, that somehow the only people in higher math classes are white males. That's the other thing too, is that they're trying to convince people that math is sexist as well. And that doesn't necessarily fly. It doesn't necessarily fly. The hidden figures was proof positive that that's not what the reality is, and that somehow math is only for white males. I get it. That room that she ended up in was full of white males. But she was the actual hero. Of the story. She not the story, but the country at that point. This country at that point. To tell us that because we're black, that we don't fit someplace, or you're not expected to fit someplace, that's disgusting. In both scenarios. If you're telling us that we're not supposed to be here, that's disgusting. If you're telling us that you can't be there because someone's standing in your way, that's equally as disgusting. Here's another example.
For those of us who are not black men, imagine watching the news and seeing how people...
Imagine being a black man and being told by some white lady with a microphone that you and the criminal on TV are one and the same because you look alike. Imagine being told by society that white people can be all that they can be, but you as a black man, the content of your character is completely irrelevant. You are the color of your skin, and that is all you will ever be. Imagine being told you can't figure out how to vote because of the color of your skin. Socioeconomics affects everyone, but apparently you're not as smart as the poorest white person. Lady, I don't want to hate you. I'm a 90s kid. I grew up with you. So I know you're very talented. I understand your heart is in the right place, but you are everything you preach against. You're not helping. You're making things worse. You're causing more division. You're causing more fear. Statistically speaking, I am more likely to be shot and killed by my black elderly neighbor across the street than the cop who patrols my neighborhood. Statistically speaking, homicide by cop is very rare, but people like you find power in fear, so you keep it front page news. You don't have to be a white supremacist. You can be... Sorry, I cut that short. The beginning was Alyssa Milano getting ready to tell us what it was like to be black in America. And the young lady, if I come across her name, I'll make sure I'll share that with you. The young lady came up with her brilliant retort, pretty much telling you that exactly what we all, as black people, need to be telling white liberals. Get the hell out of our way. You don't know what you're talking about. Statistically, the numbers tell you the truth. The numbers tell you the truth. And they're saying, oh, thousands of black people have died. Well, it wasn't white people that's doing it. It wasn't white people that's killing them. If indeed those numbers are indeed that high, and the argument that here's the argument for me when I hear those things, that black people are dying by the thousands in America,
are you just saying that we're just dying? Because it's phrased just like that. Black people are dying by the thousands in America. Well, yeah, we're supposed to die. Everyone dies. You can say that about white people. White people are dying by the thousands in America. What are you trying to create with that phrase? Now, I understand that some lowbrow, too busy to think types would just take that and be like, oh, that's just awful. It's terrible. Thousands of black people are dying in America. I don't know what you're expecting. We die. It happens. We die from auto accidents. We die from illnesses. We die from violence. We die. So that is I don't know what that argument is. That thousands of black people and the numbers. If someone tells you that white police officers are shooting so many black people, if they cannot give you the police officer shooting the white people's number, do not bother talking to them anymore about that situation. If they cannot give you the statistics, and I'll even be specific. If they cannot give you the exact number of unarmed white people killed by police officers, but they're able to give you the number that they know of unarmed black people, if they cannot give you both, they're not interested in facts. They're only interested in painting their narrative. Do not get down in the mud with those people. Do not. They're not interested and they are not bright enough to argue with. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. And then Jimmy Kimmel had brought up the same, talking about Tim Scott, where he had mentioned that an amazing thing. This is a quote. An amazing thing happened after the speech. Every black Republican senator got together to let the American people know that the Republican Party isn't racist. And then Tim promptly returned to his sensory deprivation egg he calls home. Jimmy Kimmel saying this is beyond the scope of racism. If Hollywood, if white liberals from Hollywood are allowed to call black people or talk about black people this way, as long as they are conservative or Republican or libertarian, if they're allowed to talk about black people this way, that is the very systemic racism that Joy Behar had mentioned earlier. I'll tell you now something that if you know me at all, you wouldn't believe I believe it. I genuinely believe there is systemic racism. It has nothing to do with the Declaration. It has nothing to do with how the country was put together. It does indeed have much to do with the signing of the New Deal. That in the 60s they attacked the black family. That all of a sudden drugs and alcohol became important in the black communities. You might think that because of what you know about me, I do not believe in systemic racism. There is indeed systemic racism, but it is far newer. It is far newer than what they're trying to sell you about this 1619 project. This dates back as soon as the Civil Rights Bill was signed in the 60s. Lyndon Johnson literally said, I will have these voting Democrat for the next 200 years. The N-word was used in that phrase. I will have these voting Democrat for the next 200 years. There is a quote, there was a conversation, I should say, with Lyndon Johnson's driver who was black. And he asked him, do you want to be called by your name or do you want to be called? And his driver said, well, sir, I would, of course, like to be called by my name. And Lyndon Johnson pretty much told him, it doesn't matter what I call you. It doesn't matter what I call you because you're always going to be a... You can find that conversation on the internet between Lyndon Johnson and his driver. He said, it doesn't matter what I call you. If I call you that, if I call you by your name, you're always going to be... Fill that in with the N-word. Is that the kind of guy that you want signing what Martin Luther King died for? That all of those people that stood their ground, sat at the counters at diners, decided that they were not going to sit in the back of the bus. The people that got bitten by the dogs and washed away by the fire hoses. Lyndon Johnson was the man to sign the civil rights, the New Deal, if you will. Supposedly bringing some sort of fairness. When indeed all they brought was strife, stress on the black male. On the black male. The degradation of the black family. At one point, before the 50s, 40s, 30s, 20s, if the percentage of black marriages was, black marriages staying together, the divorce rate was incredibly low. Incredibly low. Far, far lower than white marriages. White people felt the need to move on. Black people felt the need to stay together, honor family, and honor God. We've replaced God and family with alcohol and drugs and jewelry. Right now, to this day, black men are sexualized. Are sexualized. Seems funny. You've heard the jokes before. You know why women. You know why women. You know why women. But you see it all the time. You see it all the time. To the point where you see there are white couples that invite a black man into their home to give her what she needs, if you will. That exists. It can be friendly, but do you understand what that is? Do you understand what that is? Where that is chopping down what black men can be and turning them into this, painting this picture of this angry, divining rod in their pants looking for white. we've got to find a better way, and the only way is unearthly. It worked for us before. What Hollywood and the media have painted as far as black people are concerned is exactly what has destroyed black America. And there are good, fine, upstanding black people that are suffering as a result of the backlash, the wake, if you will. We're not suffering like we can't go to work, or we're not eating, we're not. It's not that. It's not that. It's that there is this of course the stereotype that comes along with that situation. There is the tossing of the tomatoes, if you will, by white liberals and black activists. That you cannot be black enough if you're not angry enough. Those people are caught in the middle. Ask Minnesota. Ask the businesses in Minnesota and George Floyd Square and just how they are being destroyed because they're not quite black enough. Black-owned businesses are not quite black enough to be supported. That they would rather barricade off those businesses and make awful, disingenuous, quite frankly, area of healing, disingenuous healing, if you will. Those companies are falling apart. Those black-owned businesses are falling apart because they're not angry enough. When all they want to do is make their living. That's all they want to do. Coca-Cola. And I'll close out with this. Coca-Cola, if you remember earlier this year, they had they were giving the try not to be too white. Try not to be too white talk to their employees. And they had come up with all kinds of guidelines on how not to be too white and how and this what makes this, and the reason I bring this up is because it is a glimmer of hope, just a little slit of light of hope. All those things were Coca-Cola, where we were so angry at them just recently for doing that. Don't be so white, and coming up with the new guidelines, and also coming up with some sort of we cannot work with you unless you have, say you were a law firm. They had mentioned that if you're some sort of law firm, we can't necessarily work with you unless you have like half your staff is black, and maybe I don't know, like at least 30% of your management is black. So they had put down all these woke racial equity guidelines. And here's where the glimmer of hope happens. When the person behind that, I believe his name was Gandhi or something, not important. They brought in a new council. That even though that council was only with them for about 9 months, they brought in a new council, and the new council said, "Why don't we put that on a shelf right now? We'll put these don't be so white guidelines on a shelf right now." Mostly, they did that. She did that because Coca-Cola actually took a pocket hit, a hit to the pocket. Yes, people not canceling. Far more brilliantly, they voted with their pocketbooks. Coca-Cola products saw a significant enough hit and a decline, a minus, if you will, enough to say, yeah, this probably isn't the best idea to tell white people that they're not necessarily welcome with Coca-Cola. The American business made in America. So people are voting with their wallet. And I see there's certain things. More people are going to court in certain situations. We'll talk about that more sometime in the future. But Coca-Cola has changed their mind on the whole whiteness thing, and that's awesome. Lastly, please, white liberals, if you feel you understand any sort of plight of people of color, take a huge wool sock and ball it up and then stuff it in your mouth, and then maybe duct tape around your head up against the sock so it stays there. So this way it can help you shut the hell up. There's nothing more frustrating than some 22-year-old white girl yelling at a black man, telling at a black man 40 years old, telling him that he doesn't understand, or that he is a slave to the system. Remember, I said there is an actual systemic racism in the United States. It does not have to do anything with the Constitution. There is no real 1619 Project. The New York Times that released that report said it themselves. There's no reality in this. It's just interesting. And then they ran with that. The 1619 Project is not a real thing. It is a half-decent, made-up story that is keeping everyone angry. Hollywood, shut up and go to hell when it comes to black people. Please. Either put us in the movies and get the hell out of our way, but quit telling us how to act black. Chelsea Handler, Alyssa Milano, Jimmy Kimmel. White liberals, please, shut the hell up. Thanks for joining me, A to Jet Noise. Catch me on Rumble, Facebook, YouTube, Parler and MeWe, and coming soon to Instagram. Again, thanks again, and hope to see you soon. Till then, big hug. Be good, be still. Enjoy your life.